once again, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the very first watercolor video that I've ever done on my channel. I am back from vacation now. Thank you guys so much for putting up with everything while I was gone, and thank you guys so much for all the nice comments on my quick sketches number whatever it was 7 that I posted while I was gone. And I just wanted to say I got so many comments on that video asking if the girl I was drawing was Sam from Until Dawn, and yes, it was Sam from Until Dawn. So I didn't get really much time, or I haven't had much time since I got back to go in and answer comments, but I'm going to be getting to that really soon. So if you ask me a question or something during that video, I'm trying to get back to you, and I will do that as soon as I possibly can. But yeah, this is going to be my, well, I already said, the first watercolor video I've done on my channel, and this is an Over the Garden Wall illustration. Over the Garden Wall is one of my favorite, like, animated mini-series that has ever been. It's so cute, and it's so well done, and it's so creative. If you haven't seen it, definitely find some place to check it out. I know that you can buy it on Amazon now, and I think the DVD set is like $9. It's super cheap. It's just really worth a watch. It's really cute. I really like it, so I decided to do my Halloween illustration for this year as an Over the Garden Wall illustration. I've been wanting to do one for a while. I just couldn't decide what I wanted to do. But I did this sketch back in September when I was getting my car's 15,000 mile service, and I was sitting in their, like, waiting area. And this was what my inspiration was, and this is super silly, but I thought I'd tell you because people always ask me about inspiration, so I'm going to tell you what it was. I was in the waiting area getting my car serviced, and I was there for a while because I was getting my 15,000 mile service done. And on the floor, in between all the chairs, was this really hideous carpet, but it had like these really pretty fall-y colors. Like there's like a light olive green and like a burnt umber and an orange and those kind of fall colors, and I just really liked the colors in that carpet, so I took a picture of it. And while I was there, I actually did the sketch for this, which I think I pull over and show a couple times while I'm painting this, because I did have to redraw it onto the watercolor paper that I did end up using. But that was what my inspiration was. It was a really hideous carpet at the car dealership. So that just shows that you can get inspiration from anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be art related. It can be a really ugly carpet when you're just like out and about. So that was what my color inspiration for this little piece was. I think I already said that I wanted to do an Over the Garden Wall piece for a while, but I just thought that those colors really fit into what I wanted to do. And I didn't really want to do like a spooky witch type thing for my Halloween illustration this year. I wanted to go with something a little bit different. And I am really happy with how this came out. I probably have already said this because I like to repeat myself in these videos, but I haven't actually done a legit watercolor illustration where I'm not just like messing around in probably 8 years. Since I was in community college is when I took a bunch of watercolor classes, which is where I learned to watercolor. So I thought I would talk a bit about the supplies that I was using for this. As you can see, I am using those Zig watercolor markers that I talked about in my September favorites video earlier this month. And I really like them. They work really well on like good watercolor paper, because when I demoed them, I had no idea how to use them, but since then I've gone in and kind of messed around with them and figured out how to properly use them. And I really like them. They're really good to like take out with you, like if you're going like on vacation or traveling or somewhere. They're really transportable. I am painting on Arches watercolor paper. It's 140 pound cold pressed paper. That's my favorite paper to do watercolor painting on. I like cold press more than hot press. I have it taped, the paper taped down to a like really pink drawing mat, and I just used artist tape to tape it down. I wish I had taped it to something else besides that really bad pink mat, but I couldn't find my watercolor board because I think it's in storage, because as I said, I haven't watercolor painted in like a million years. I am using Pentel Aquash watercolor marker, like not markers, watercolor pens, water brushes. They're the kind that like you can fill them with water, and they have like synthetic brushes. I just prefer those over actual watercolor brushes. I don't know why. I just like having the convenience of having the water already in the brush instead of having to like dip it I know that sounds super lazy, but you know, whatever. And I am using 2 other types of watercolors because I found that I like the Zig watercolor markers for small areas, but for larger areas they're a bit hard to do. Like the sky or the clouds in the background would have been really hard to do just because of how limiting the space of the markers are, because the brushes are pretty small on them, but they have really good pigmentation and stuff. They just don't really work for larger spaces, so if you're working on like a tiny size, like postcard size, they would be super good for that, I think. But the other 2 watercolors I'm using Yarka St. Petersburg watercolors, and they're pan watercolors, and you can see me using them. I used those a lot for like larger areas like the sky and the clouds. I am also using a type of watercolor that I have not used before. I've owned these for a long time, but I never used them, and I've had them for months and months and months, and I've been meaning to use them. You can see it on the left hand side right there. It's like that flat black thing. They are Peerless Watercolors, and I'm going to be including them in my October favorites for this month because I used them and I was like, holy moly, these are awesome. They're so pigmented and they just work really well. I'm going to talk about more about them soon, and I'm probably going to do a full review because I haven't really seen much about them on YouTube. I don't even remember where I heard about them. I want to say it was probably from the planner community, because I'm really into like you guys know I'm really into planners and stuff, but I want to say that that's where I heard about them, and I thought they were pretty cool, so I grabbed them and bought them. You can only buy them from the Peerless Watercolor website. They are like, they're flat, they're like on paper, and you can like cut them down to size if you wanted to make like a travel book of them. But you can see me holding one right there. It's like flat. They're strange, but they're really super pigmented, and I love them. They're so cool, and they just work so well. And I was just really surprised when I was working. I was like, oh my god, these are like the best. So I'm going to be talking more about them soon, but those were one of the watercolors that I used. So I was painting on arches. I used the Pentel water brushes, the Zig watercolor markers, the Yarka St. Petersburg watercolors, and the Peerless watercolors for this illustration. When I started this piece, I didn't really have any particular like technique that I was trying to achieve. I just kind of wanted to paint it how I wanted it to be painted, if that makes any sense. Like, I am trained as an oil painter, an impressionist oil painter, not just like regular oil paints, but my teacher who taught me was, or if she's still around, she is a kind of well-known impressionist oil painter, and so I wanted to kind of keep that slightly impressionist look, so I didn't tighten anything up, and I kind of let it bleed and feather out. And I do really like how that turned out, because I feel like it looks more organic than having everything be kept like really tightened, and I didn't put any black line work on it. It's just pencil. I do kind of tighten up some of the characters at the very end with a like navy blue Zig watercolor marker, and I didn't blend that out just to kind of make them stand out and pop a little bit more. But I wanted to make sure that I kept the kind of loose, just kind of fun feeling that I wanted to have from this. So I chose to not tighten anything up. That's kind of also why I kept to a really like limited color palette, because I know someone's going to mention that I didn't quite use the exact character colors that the show uses. Like Wirt's hat, that red hat, is not as red as it is in the show, but I didn't want it to like be like bright red, because that would have really drawn attention to that. So I made that red more of a like rusty red, and then I incorporated that red throughout the rest of the image so it wouldn't be a super isolated color. The same with that blue, that Wirt's like little cape thing in Beatrice, the bird, are. I used that blue as shading in the tree and in the grass in the foreground and on the houses, which is what I was doing just then, just so that those colors were not super isolated. Excuse me. And that kind of pulled the whole piece together, and making sure that none of those colors were like standalone colors, and that's something that I really try to keep in mind. I used a lot more of my oil painting knowledge in this rather than just kind of guesswork with watercolors, since I don't have much experience with watercolors, and I do really like how it turned out. So That's always nice. So I guess that's really all I have time for. I feel like this commentary just makes no sense, but that's how I feel about all my commentaries. But if you have any questions about what I did or any of the tools I used, you can feel free to leave me a comment down below. And I will definitely try and get back to you as soon as I'm trying to get back to answering all the comments from all my videos while I was gone. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will be back next week with my October favorites. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!